Welcome back. Now let's shift our focus to another very important aspect of this entire crisis. We are going to talk about the cost of this political coup. Let's take a look at the financial implications that such a coup would have. It's no secret that such activities require funding. Politics is a game of power and money. Now, how much does it really cost? It's on your screens right now. What we have pulled out in terms of the calculations that are going in here, let's take a look at the chartered flight cost between Surat and Guwahati, approximately 50 lakh rupees. Yes, chartered flights are far more expensive than the regular commercial flights. It takes big money to be able to afford that. The MLAs are staying at 5-star hotels, each in Gujarat and Assam. The rooms are booked for a minimum of 7 days, and the tariff, from what we checked at the Radisson Blu Hotel in Guwahati, comes to 56 lakhs for this duration of stay. So just the cost of basic services, transport and stay is over 1 crore for a few people for a week. Now, where is this money coming from? Is it the party that is funding it, or is there a vested interest? Now, if there is a vested interest, what is the quid pro quo then? Who is funding the netas to live in luxury, to fly by chartered planes, and to go all across from Mumbai to Guwahati, which is the furthest corner, if you think about it? It's like a west and east at length and breadth, the entire breadth of the country, in fact, that is being crossed. And therefore, the expenses go up commensurately. The reason why we are bringing this up is that this point is extremely critical on who is funding the Shinde camp at the moment. The bills are rising by the day. Ketan joining me from Matushri. Ketan, important to understand that if there is a vested interest, if there is a financer involved, or any political party with deep pockets involved, then there would be a quid pro quo. They would demand their pound of flesh. Explain to us how this works. When something of this nature is planned, resort politics and all of that we keep hearing, where does the money come from?
Well, so this is a question that all the parties need to answer. Where does this money come from? And especially national parties, because resort politics is not something new. It has been happening since at least last 2 decades, since politics became the symbol of Ayaram and Gayaram, of MLAs switching sides and switching their flock from one side, one political party to another. The anti-defection law was a step in the direction of stopping this or correcting this or disallowing this from happening. But this also doesn't seem to have stopped the open loot of money. And the point here, Arfida, is that there was a talk that should political parties come under the ambit of RTI. And the ruling was, or what finally happened is, I think the issue also went to the courts. And what happened is that political parties are independent institutions. They are independent of government. Although they aid the purpose of forming the government, they are seen as independent of government. So, using the old phrase, Caesar's wife is above suspicion. So the political parties were not brought under RTI. What is the result? Result is complete lack of accountability and no public propriety at all. You just mentioned, like, you from Guwahati, you work in Mumbai. You know how much a Mumbai-Guwahati fare costs, or a Surat-Guwahati fare would cost. Add to that the 5-star expenses. Add to that all the care that the MLAs were taken care of. And this whole thing of electoral bonds, there was another critical issue or a thorn in terms of political accountability. The electoral bonds, the government has not yet allowed to make them transparent. So you never know what kind of corporate entities, what kind of builders or vested interests invest in those electoral bonds. So be it electoral bonds or be it making the spending and the expenses of political parties accountable, it's a dark road ahead, a complete dark road.
Opaque. It's completely opaque, you're right, and there's no way we can find out, but we know how much it costs, and therefore we can question where this money is coming from. Let me bring in our guest joining us this evening here on the program, Abhishek Agnihotri, leader Shiv Sena, Smita Gupta, senior journalist, Anurag Chaturvedi, senior journalist, and Sandeep Ghosh, author, also with us. I will begin with Mr. Abhishek Agnihotri, and the straight question to you, Mr. Agnihotri, where is the funding coming from for an indefinite period of time? And there seems to be no concerns of the expenditure, because Mr. Shinde is clear that until and unless we get a go-ahead of being recognized and sanctified as a separate unit, we will not come back, which means that money is flowing. Where is it coming from?
ये बात मुझे लग रहा है कि हमसे ज्यादा क्वेश्चन ये भाजपा वालों से पूछना चाहिए कि इतना फंड जिस तरह से मतलब 15-20 दिन पहले इसकी प्लानिंग हो जाती है, सभी होटल्स से लेके और सारी फ्लाइट्स का फेयर वगैरह सब एडवांस में चला जाता है, तो मुझे तो ये क्वेश्चन भाजपा वाले ज्यादा अच्छे से बता पाएंगे।
लेकिन नेता तो आपके पार्टी के हैं, नेता तो सारे जो विधायक है वो शिवसेना के हैं। आपको पता होना चाहिए कि उनका कितना प्रॉवस, फाइनेंशियल प्रॉवस कितना है उनका, क्या वो
उनका निजी कुछ भी नहीं, निजी कुछ भी नहीं। यहाँ पे उनके पीछे जिस सुपर पावर की वो मॉर्निंग में उन्होंने स्टेटमेंट में अपने बोला कि उनके पीछे सुपर पावर है, तो सुपर पावर वो कौन सी ये दुनिया जानती है, और उस सुपर पावर के लिए फंड रेज करना ये बहुत बड़ी चीज नहीं है। अंबानी अडानी जैसे लोगों को जो पोषित करते हो, अंबानी अडानी जैसे लोगों के हाथों में जो पूरा देश सौंपने के लिए काम कर रहे हो, उनके लिए सब छोटी बातें हैं। 5 स्टार होटल्स, फ्लाइट, चार्टर्ड प्लान्स, ये सब बहुत छोटी चीजें हैं। वो देश को चला सकते हैं और वही देश चला रहे हैं। ये बिल्कुल, इसमें कोई हमें कहने में हिचक नहीं है। इनके पीछे सुपर पावर काम कर रही है। उन सुपर पावर्स के पीछे कौन कॉर्पोरेट के लोग काम करते हैं, ये सभी को पता है। यहाँ जितने पैनल में हमारे सम्मानित लोग बैठे हुए हैं, उसमें से मतलब सभी को पता होगा कि इस देश को रन कौन कराता है, कौन फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट कर रहा है इन लोगों को, ये सभी को पता होगा। और इन सुपर पावर्स की बात जिसकी शिंदे साहब ने बात किया, तो कोई तो सुपर पावर जिनके पीछे काम कर रही है। अचानक से तो कुछ भी नहीं हुआ, पूरा का पूरा होटल।
Smita Gupta, do you see a certain level of unconstitutionality in all of this? These are all public representatives. They're answerable to the people. They are members of the Legislative Assembly. The fact that they would, for an indefinite period of time, leave their station, be in another state altogether for whatever reason, is there any sort of, unconstitutionality involved, given the fact that this kind of money also being spent beyond the perception? Where exactly you feel that here is an issue which nobody is talking about?
You're absolutely right. I mean, this is completely unconstitutional and it's immoral. I mean, that legislators who are who are earning a salary to do their jobs in the assembly, if let us say legitimately these MLAs are unhappy with the current dispensation which is led by Uddhav Thackeray, they are unhappy with him, they could have demanded a meeting of the political party and asked for a change of leadership. But obviously that is something that they don't think they can manage, which why you need to take people from Bombay to Surat to Guwahati, and incur these massive expenses. Eknath Shinde, we all know, is, he is a sort of the funder of the Shiv Sena. It is he who funded the last, Shiv Sena election. So he has plenty of money. Plus the BJP has big money. We all know that. Otherwise, why is the BJP so interested in all this? Why are the MLAs being only taken to BJP-ruled states? And
yes, that's the point, Sandeep Ghosh. The fact is, first Surat, then Guwahati. And coming from Assam, I know that Mr. Himanta Biswa Sharma has risen in stature within the party, that today perhaps he's been given this responsibility of handling the Shiv Sena MLAs from Mumbai, that they had to be flown. Never before, at least I've grown up there, I know never before such a thing has happened, where Guwahati became the preferred location for any kind of resort politics. This is because of Mr. Sharma and his growing clout in the BJP, and therefore people are saying that this is very clearly something that the BJP could have funded, Mr. Ghosh.
At a time when the Assam floods are there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, at a time when the floods are raging. Mr. Ghosh.
Oh, yeah. First of all, on a somewhat lighter note, I'd say this shows the mainstreaming of the Northeast. Earlier, people, some journalists used to say when floods were not covered.
No, this is not the mainstreaming we want. I'm sorry.
It's a tyranny of distance.
Who comes from Guwahati, this is the last kind of mainstreaming. To be the choice, to be the choice for resort politics.
A very senior journalist I don't want to name him, when he was asked why Assam floods are not covered by national television, he has said it's tyranny of distance. But thanks to this thing, I find today all channels have deputed there not one, but two or three people in Guwahati. So to that extent, I think it is mainstreaming. But that's a slightly, facetious statement in jest I'm saying. But first of all, money in politics today has become not just insane, it's become obscene. We all know that. We can go on having hours of debate on how the political funding is happening and, who's doing, what not doing, and what is the way to control it. I don't think any of us have the answer. We are looking at this resort politics here. We know all when there is a Rajya Sabha election, how much money changes hands today, how much does it cost an MLA? Somebody to fight even an MLA election, forget it, even a municipal election. So there is humongous amount of money which is at play, so it doesn't really require one party or the other. Ketan was making a point about national parties. Let me tell him that he should not underestimate regional parties. BJP may have got the highest amount of electoral bonds, but does he know who are the second and third? Second and third includes NCP, Trinamool, Shiv Sena and the others. So Congress
it's a vicious cycle, Mr. Ghosh.
So
parties need to fill in their coffers and they go to any extent to do that. And once they manage to... Yes, I'm saying across board. I'm not naming any party. And wherever you have a party with deep pockets, they can manipulate just about anything. They can subvert democracy. They can play with the mandate. Isn't this an extremely dangerous precedent?
I admit,
money reigns supreme. People's mandate don't matter. Floods don't matter. Elections don't matter. The only thing that seems to be working here is money power. You can get them cooped up in a resort indefinitely. Buy off MLAs. There is a very strong
but look at the funny
narrative that all of them are being bought over. This is what Mamata Banerjee is saying. So,
everybody is.
Right. So that's the tragedy, isn't it? That's the tragedy.
I'll just end with one quip.
Go ahead,
I'll just end with one quip. When demonetization happened, I was discussing about what is going to happen. So they named a particular politician. I don't want to again take. He said, even if he sells all his cash in Raddi, he'll still be the most richest politician in the country. So that is the kind of feeling people have over there.
Which is the kind of today. Politics which is only taking this country down. Let me be very clear. I mean, what happens to governance in Maharashtra in all of this? What happens to floods in Assam if the top office is busy handling MLAs from Maharashtra in a state where flood has ravaged? There are lakhs of people, over 40 lakh people affected there. And I'll request my producer, if possible, to put out those visuals as well. It's important to see the plight of the common man. While these netas are rolling in luxury, look at the plight of the common man in Assam. I come from there. I've seen floods.
I agree with you.
Imagine being stripped of your homes. You are in the middle of a highway where a relief camp would be put up for you. You may not get your 2 meals a day. That's what the common man in Assam is facing. And you have the chief minister busy managing this. This is what I'm saying from reports coming from the ground. Because Mr. Sharma was seen entering and exiting. Entering and exiting the resort.
Yeah,
let me have the other speakers also come in. Yes,
yeah, my grounds against politicians as well as journalists is, today we have forgotten about the Nupur Sharma incidents. We have forgotten about Agnipath. We have forgotten about everything else just because everybody is now focused on this. There should be also much more focus on these issues.
No, we cover all the issues. Please don't say that.
I'm not talking about you.
We do not allow any one issue to hijack the narrative.
No, I'm not talking about you.
Of course, I do understand what you're saying. In general, the public discourse now is over this issue. I do accept that. Let me bring in Abhishek Agnihotri. शिवसेना की जो अभी जो स्थिति है वो 2 हिस्सों में बट गए जो आपके लेजिस्लेटिव पार्टी है that has split. Now what is the status of the party at large? अभी जो हम देख रहे हैं उद्धव ठाकरे जी ये कह रहे हैं कुछ लोगों के जाने से जो पेड़ है वो नहीं गिर जाता, वो हमारे पास है. So in a way appealing to the Shiv Senics, the rebel netas to say that we are the real Shiv Sena, and if you have to stay with Shiv Sena, you need to return. Now ऐसे जो स्थिति में है आपकी पार्टी अभी अभिषेक अग्निहोत्री, क्या आपको लगता है कि सारे नेता बिकाऊ है, कि सारे ऐसे नेता है जिनको खरीदा जा सकता है पैसे देके?
नहीं, मैं ऐसा तो आपके चैनल पे क्या मैं कम से कम 50 डिबेट अटेंड कर चुका हूँ। मैंने ऐसी बात कहीं बोली नहीं है कि हमारे सारे नेता बिकाऊ हैं, बिक के वो गए हुए हैं, हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग का जो है शिकार हुए हैं, ऐसा तो मैं नहीं बोला। हाँ, ये हो सकता है कि जिन नेताओं के जो नेता हमसे बागी हुए हैं आज, उनको जो मेन सुपर लीड कर रहे हैं एकनाथ शिंदे जी, जो हमारे महाराष्ट्र के कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर भी हैं, जैसा परिस्थितियों की बात यहाँ पे चल रही थी, फ्लड्स आ रखा है ऑलरेडी, वहाँ दादा भूसे जी जो हमारे महाराष्ट्र के कृषि मंत्री थे, वो वहाँ पे चिंतन मंथन के लिए गए हुए एकनाथ शिंदे साहब के साथ में। तो ये सारी परिस्थितियां पहली बात जो जनित हैं, जो ये जिनका जन्म दिया गया है, वो एकनाथ शिंदे इन चीजों के उत्तरदायित्व सबसे पहले। दूसरी बात क्या, कोई अस्थायी सरकार या सरकार को कोई डिस्टर्ब करता है तो कहीं न कहीं जिसने डिस्टर्ब किया है वो उतने ही मतलब अपराधी उस चीज का है जो भी चीजें हो रही हैं यहाँ पे। दूसरी बात आपको बता दूं, यहाँ पे जो शिवसेना के 2 होने की बात आप कर रही हैं, शिवसेना 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 15, 20, 50 बागी विधायकों की वजह से उसकी पहचान नहीं है। जो शिवसैनिकों का एक वट वृक्ष है, शिवसैनिकों का एक अपनी विचारधारा है, शिवसैनिक जिससे जुड़े हुए हैं, वो मातोश्री है, ठाकरे परिवार है, माननीय बाला साहब ठाकरे जी के द्वारा
फिलहाल अपना जो डिस्कशन है वो इस मुद्दे पे है कि ये क्या खरीद फरोख्त हो रखा है. अनुराग चतुर्वेदी, would you like to come in on this? Is this a pure and simple exchange of money that has happened? In many ways, because some of the prominent political voices of this country from the Congress and the TMC are alleging that MLAs are being bought over.
I think, yes, these MLAs are purchasable commodity, and they are big blot on the name of the democracy. Because if you see these MLAs or the ministers even, this is one of the very shameful thing happen in Maharashtra. Maharashtra is not known for all these things, but the opportunist leadership of Shiv Sena, and I think one has to blame all the political leaders. If you see the happenings, what happened in Haryana when Sachin Pilot was been to, he was part of the Operation Lotus. So what Ketan has said that Ayaram, Gayaram, Operation Lotus, and they all are money exchanging programs from the ruling party. And previously the amount or the number was not that much, but now the Abhishek ji ko main kahunga to pehle छोटे छोटे बदलाव होते थे. Now the thok or the wholesale defection used to take place.
Wholesale, and the MLAs like Mr. Aditya Thackeray, I think, was referring earlier today, questioning the rebels that have you made yourself saleable commodity? That's a question. I just have very little time. I want to play out the pictures because, my home state is in reference here, and I want to show those pictures of the floods of people suffering. It's very critical for us to take a look at how people are managing on the ground while the netas squabble. This is Assam, from where we are bringing you these pictures. See the relief material being distributed. The MLAs are living in the lap of luxury, and these are MLAs from Maharashtra, purportedly being taken care of by the Assam Chief Minister. That is, of course, part of the allegation from the Thackeray camp. I want to close with Smita Gupta. Can you come in and tell us that is this fair on the people of this country?
No, it's absolutely not fair because, the Assam Chief Minister, Mr. Hemanta Biswa Sharma, should be pouring all his energies and that of his cabinet into, ameliorating the condition of those who have been affected by the floods. People have lost homes, livelihoods. It's unspeakable, absolutely.
Yes.
And as far as the money aspect is concerned, I just wanted to add one thing. You only took into account the plane fare and the hotel fare. What about the amount that has been given to each MLA?
Yes.
Probably enough for the next 7 generations for each of these MLAs.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you so much, Abhishek Agnihotri, Smita Gupta, Anurag Chaturvedi, and Sandeep Ghosh for joining us here on this conversation. Of course, this entire pot boiler continues to simmer. We are still with a lot of uncertainty on where this is going. Both the camps continue to do their grandstanding and posturing, but remember, at some stage, the posturing will have to end and the real game will have to begin. The constitution will kick in, the floor test might kick in, and then all sides will have to prove their mettle. Until then, thanks for watching this edition of the Urban Debate.